This episode contains content and strong language that may be unsuitable for the younger viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh my god, it's a Norwegian horse!
No, the Mongolian horse.
Oh. Welcome to the Heart to Heartland podcast. Here are your hosts.
Katie, cover your ears.
Hello and welcome back to Heart to Heartland. I'm Izzy.
And I'm Soile.
And we have some exciting season 16 news today that we're going to get to in a couple minutes, but we're going to jump right into the updates now.
Yeah. So first of all, Michelle did this Facebook Live with Up TV because they just started airing season 15. So she was kind enough to do a little live with them. And I still haven't watched it. My week has been kind of crazy, but I think you skimmed through it a little bit.
I did. It was a very good interview. I really liked it. I saw bits and parts of it. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, but yeah, it was good. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, link in the description. And Amber also did another take on favorite Amy moments for Up, Faith and Family. And this was a scene from season 13, episode 7, where Amy's doing Liberty work with Spartan and she's trying to get him to stand. And he takes a bow. And she mentioned that even just thinking about that got her emotional, even though she's not really emotional person, but because it's such a beautiful scene, and the horse who played a lot of the Liberty training scenes has since passed away. So yeah. And there was another behind the scenes video with the show's sound mixer Jesse Sanderson, and he talked a little bit about what he does and what kind of process making the show is. And I just always find those interesting because
Agreed.
You see the finished product and you don't always realize how much work goes into all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Greta, who played Soraya, was on the Ellen Show's Heads Up with her all-American co-star Samantha Logan. I don't know if she's gonna be on the actual show too.
I couldn't find anything online, so we'll find out, because by the time you guys hear this, you'll probably know. But right now, as it sits, we don't know if she's actually going to be interviewed on the Ellen Show, so either way, it's cool, but we're not sure right now.
Yeah, pretty huge either way.
It is.
Yeah. And then Aidan has new music coming out on June 3rd. He played the song on his last live, so if you want to hear it, you can go back and look at that. But yeah, that's coming, and from what I remember, it sounded amazing, and I can't wait to just like listen to that and repeat.
It's available to stream wherever you guys listen to music, like Apple, Spotify. So remember to stream his new song, Also Better Than Heaven.
Yeah. And then there's I got some information that Netflix France might be adding season 14 on June 1st, but because I'm not in France, I don't know if that's accurate. But if there's anyone from France listening, like, let us know so we can spread the information. And then by the time you're hearing this episode, unfortunately, this competition has ended by then, but I just thought it would be interesting to mention that Up, Faith and Family was doing this season 15 custom blanket sweepstakes giveaway, and it's the blanket that you went out of your way to get last year, was it?
When was this now? Yeah, was it? Yeah. Yeah, it was last fall, I think. You had to pay $300 for it. Okay. But it's great. I love it. So
Yeah, and speaking of competitions or giveaways, there's this competition going. I don't remember what was the time frame, but it's from BYU TV app. Um, there's like this merch, like shirt and Mackey's cup, and like this horse and this journal with autographs. And I've seen this stuff before, and it's not official. So it was made by a fan, but they're giving it out as official because I don't know. I guess they just want to have like a moment.
Yeah, so the giveaway closes May 26th, 11:59 Mountain Time. It's open to the US only, it says. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so guys, don't be fooled. This is not official merch.
I mean, it's nice, but
Um,
it's not official.
Yeah, like we definitely entered, like obviously, but like what's the part that's just wild to me is that they like found this unlicensed, maybe even copyrighted merch,
Mm.
and then sold it, or sorry, and then trying to give it away as, autographed merch. It's not, and Michelle Morgan's autograph is quite likely on there twice, just like it is on the copyrighted versions online. So
yeah, and
very
I'm starting to suspect maybe none of these autographs are real because Amber does a very her autograph is very specific, and it's been like that for years.
The only time I have ever seen her sign something like this, and I'm gonna make sure to link it somewhere in the description, that she used when she would do events like the Canadian Screen Awards, and she would show up and people would swarm her with autographs. She would sign very fast, and that's where that signature came from. I know exactly where you can find it too. There's so that's where that came from. So I'm not doubting that she didn't sign like that. Did she sign this piece of paper? No. Could they have gotten a real $10 autograph on her website? Yeah.
And I think we're gonna need like a specialist to analyze the autographs, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny. But
it's interesting. So to enter, you comment your favorite character on their Instagram post and tag a fellow Heartland fan and like the post. So you commented on that.
Yeah.
And you tagged Michael Weinberg in it because he doesn't like when people use unlicensed merch.
Yeah.
Cough, get licensed merch, cough.
Mm-hmm.
And to which BYU TV commented to you, thanks for tagging a fellow Heartland fan. That could not have been more humbling, honestly.
Yeah. Because yeah, I just wanted to bring it to Michael Weinberg's attention that they're doing this, and they thought I was like giving a heads up for a fellow fan. I mean, I guess in a way he could be, but yeah.
And like I even commented on that post. I commented something like, just to let you guys know, this isn't real merch. And I wasn't even saying that towards them. I was saying that to the fans in the comments who were thinking they were about to hit the jackpot. Like, yeah. Sorry to burst your bubble, but this stuff isn't real. My comment's been deleted.
Interesting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Anywho.
Greg Lawson is gonna be at the Herb Division Expo in Anaheim, California on 10th till 12th of June 12th. Did I say that right? Well, anyways.
Yep.
And in the last episode, I talked about the convention in France. Torrance is also going to be there. And the convention in Scotland, they have Melanie Scrofano and Tim Rezin, who were all guest stars on show. So I thought I'd mention that as well.
Yeah.
And then the mystery of season 16 continues because Simon Dakin, that we talked about in the last episode, that he posted the official logo for season 16. And then on last Friday, not the Friday you're hearing this, like the before, right? But before
On the
that,
20th.
yeah, he posted pictures from the studio because they had a meeting there. And not too long after those photos were gone, the logo was gone, his email signature was gone. Like, I hope the CBC sniper didn't get to him because I've been loving his posts. So
Yeah, honestly, so this just happened when you hear this, when we're filming this just happened when you hear this, it's gonna be like a week late. Surprise, Shoddy.
yeah. And then Shay did like a little interview with another podcast where he revealed that season 16 is gonna have 15 episodes. So I don't know like what to believe at this point.
CBC needs to rein it in a little bit, just a little bit, because we have Nolan talking about it for like 2 months. We have Simon's been telling everybody everything about season 16. And then, not to mention, Heartland on Facebook literally said yesterday, we do not know if there's another season. Stop embarrassing yourselves, you guys.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Are you not embarrassed? Are you not embarrassed?
Did they really?
Yeah!
Okay, but like, where else has it been confirmed though? Like
everywhere.
The fucking union ACTRA has said it, and I think their insurance has also posted about it too. I don't remember what it's called, but Nolden's talked about it on radio.
Yeah.
And then what was the other thing? And then Simon obviously has been talking about it for a couple of weeks.
The writers have talked about it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's the holdup. And our last update actually, if we read this right, a guy called Jared Blake has been cast for season 16. So I don't know what he's gonna do all summer.
I know. That's yeah. Okay, so a few weeks ago we made a post on our Instagram, your guys' thoughts on the character of Tim Fleming. So we're gonna quickly go through those comments and then dive into it. First comment is from Lavender Rig. Don't like Tim at all. Haven't seen that much growth over the last 15 seasons. He's still a narcissist and acts like he's 16 instead of a father and grandfather. He doesn't belong at Heartland and should never have become a central character. Chris should stay behind the camera. I've watched every episode many times and fast forward through all his scenes.
Yeah. Then Lisa Ken Forever says, love all the scenes everyone mentioned here. 2 scenes without dialogue that still give me goosebumps are the ones on Marion's grave in season 3 and season 11. And they also said, by the way, so much look forward to your episode on Tim.
They continued to say, when I first started watching Heartland, Tim wasn't in many scenes, but caught my attention nevertheless. He obviously had a temper, a dark past, and many flaws, but I saw such potential in his character. So for many seasons, being a Tim fan was a very lonely and frustrating thing. I'm happy that the writers allowed growth in a realistic way while keeping him flawed. I have so many favorite scenes and wouldn't know where to start. I just love all the Jack and Tim scenes and how far they've come. My favorite Tim pairing is with Jessica. I feel like they are equivalent partners and their different backgrounds keeps it interesting and they have real chemistry. I was a fan of Casey for a long time, but looking back, it seems like she wasn't all in with Tim. In parentheses, it says not wanting to move in with him, pressuring him to take the Texas job. Maybe also because Tim was never completely honest with her about his past, only if he had no choice. Addiction, Janice, tumor scare, Marion. With Jessica, it feels like he's willing to show his vulnerable sides. Some people felt like the wedding was rushed, but don't forget that they both experienced serious health scares and they got to know each other pretty well on their lengthy travels.
Yeah. Then Elodie Schubert said, Tim, Tim, Tim. There's a lot to say about him. I think I love him as much as I hate him. One moment he's there, has feelings, comparison, and the next moment he becomes unbearable and you just want to tell him to F off. But in the end, Heartland wouldn't be the same without Tim Fleming. I always love the moments with Jack. I remember one moment in particular that always comes back to me and makes me laugh. It was when Tim's herd of cows had been stolen and who went to the police with Jack. At first, it's Jack who stops Tim from breaking everything, and then it's the other way around. I especially like the moment when Jack gets back in the car.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And Mary Catherine said, I have mixed feelings about Tim. He used to be the character I would always say was my least favorite. He probably still is out of the main characters, but I don't dislike him as much as I used to. For me, I think the turning point in absolutely disliking him was probably when he talked to Jade after she was going to go on a date with the guy from the rodeo school. Then I love how he encouraged Lou to crash Mitch's wedding. That was probably when I noticed that I did still kind of like Tim. I ship him with Jessica so hard. She changed him in a good way and you can really see it. I was really starting to like him until he made the comment implying that he believed rumors that Logan was robbing people's ranches. Now I'm going back to not knowing how I feel about his character. Although he is impulsive and makes rude comments at times, I really like how he cares for the people that he loves.
Yeah. Then Time Borsazi said, Tim is such a colorful and interesting and hilarious character. He has his flaws and strengths like everyone else, and he can be challenging, and some of the things he says or does makes you roll your eyes, but his heart is in the right place and he loves his family. Absolutely love his relationship with Jack, my favorite thing in the entire show. They've come a long way. I ship him with Jessica. I did like him with Casey, but that ship has sailed. Jessica understands him. They actually listen to each other. There are a lot of favorite scenes with Tim. Loved it when he went into Caleb's cabin after his accident. Loved the empathy belly. Loved when he got the big trailer to get Will's horses. Loved when he went to Mongolia with Amy and his talk with the shaman. Loved the scene when Ty was in the hospital and he questioned Bob. That was everything I was thinking. Catching the skunk with Mitch when Jack chased him around the hay. Marion's 10-year memorial ride. How he talked to Peter and Ty about his regrets. Oh boy, there's so many. I loved him.
Stephanie said, honestly, I've grown to really love his character over the years. Sure, he has moments where I want to slap some sense into him, but Jack thankfully does that for me most of the time. The show would be so boring without Tim, so it's safe to say he's definitely needed. His growth over the seasons is honestly one of my favorite things about the show and how far he's come with Jack. I mean, he called Jack his best friend. Like some have said, I did ship him and Casey at first, but once she left and Jessica came into the picture, I couldn't help but fall in love with that pairing. They balance each other out perfectly. There are way too many favorite Tim moments, wearing the fake pregnancy belly after he got shot and was constantly ringing the bell for help. The soft and emotional scenes between him and his daughters, I'm a sucker for those.
Yeah. Then MH Kindly 12 said, I love Tim. He doesn't get the credit I wish he would get, and yes, he can be difficult, but love his character. He made me laugh so hard when Amy gave birth. He was so freaked out.
No context, Heartland said, I loved him as a character, but I would want to punch him in the face sometimes if I knew him in real life. He is so interesting and his flaws and strengths make a lot of sense, so I love to see how he responds to things. I ship him with Jessica primarily. I used to with Casey before Jess came along, and his relationship with Jack is also one of the favorites on the entire show. Also, just like, give me the angst of his background with Lou and Amy. I mean, I hope I'm saying that right. I love angst, and
Yeah.
I love how far those relationships have come along since he came back into their lives, and Stephanie agrees to that.
Yeah. Amber Marshall fans said, Chris does a great job making fans crazy as to whether we love him or hate him. I tend to get frustrated with Tim a lot, but that's who his character is.
Agreed. Berga Bode said, I liked him with Jessica. He's easier to love now, but I loved him with Casey. She called him on his crap. He was very difficult during that time. And they continued, I love when Ty was sick in the hospital from Mongolia and Amy told Tim she was 9 months pregnant, would tell him what she needed, and that was for him to leave.
Yeah. Then H.L. Horsey said, I loved him. He's such an interesting character. Yes, he can be annoying and stupid sometimes, but a lot of the times it's just his way of showing he cares. He's also super funny. I ship him with Casey primarily. I like him and Jessica, but there was just something about how she handled their relationship and his bullshit, and that they had the rodeo in common. I know I have tons of favorite lines and moments. I just can't think of them all. Him singing in season 15, him and the skunk, Chris's delivery of how he was specifically 601 acres, him and the maternity belly, and when he destroyed Jack's demonstration of a cattle tribe with toy figures. I know I know there's way more. I just can't think of them. I'm pretty satisfied with his arc. As you can see, he definitely matures, just at a much slower pace than the rest of the characters. And this post is probably one of our like biggest posts, because people kept commenting and commenting, and we were like, whoa.
Yeah. So thank you all for commenting, and to have like so many thoughts circling through my head right now. But to start it off, Nenah, what do you think of like Tim as a whole character, and what are your thoughts on his background or lack thereof in this case?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Again, how much time do we have?
Take it away.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Tim. I think all of the comments that said we love to hate Tim nailed it, because like I really liked him, to be honest. Like, he is one of the most fascinating characters on the show, I think, to me. And I think part of the reason why some people don't like him is because it took so long for him to kind of have an actual arc and mature. But I really like the way that they did it anyway. I think the fact they took so long to do it, and he kind of had to watch the rest of the family kind of grow and change, and just kind of have a moment of reflection and realize he hadn't really grown and changed. At least that's how it's playing out in my mind. I just think it was really well done. So I liked him a lot. I've always liked him. You know, I think, especially, you know, you go back to season 1 and you kind of watch season 1 and think about, okay, he was really kind of quiet and just like very apologetic and kind of like coming back into their lives really quietly and slowly. Sorry, my cat is like attacking.
Oh, I thought it was the weather, because there's a storm right now, and I'm like, is it thundering?
This chair. Can you come here, please?
It's okay. We love cats.
Yeah, the cat loves Tim. Tim.
Yeah, the cat has thoughts.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you could hear him. Will you stop?
Okay, I seriously thought it was the weather. Like, shit. What's going on out there?
No, it's just this little monster. Okay.
It's raining cats and dogs.
It is. Okay, so yeah, I lost my train of thought. Thank you for that.
Okay, weird note, but that cat literally looks like Jessica Steen's cat.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. Oh my god, I'll have to send you a picture. Oh my god, Percy.
This is Percy.
I'm sorry, I'm taking a picture.
Otherwise known as the resident chaos. Oh my gosh. Okay, starting over. I loved him. I really do. I love character development, and I love growth, because I think sometimes I think if you see too much character growth in like a season or over a couple of seasons, it doesn't seem to stick as well. And I think that's why I love the fact that they took so long with Tim. It was because we've known Tim now for 16 years. And like in that time, it took a long time for him to change. But when he did change, I feel like it was really powerful, you know? Honestly, the biggest change I think for me came with his cancer scare. And I really love that they did that for that character, because, you know, this whole time he's been walking around being kind of this tough guy and thinking he can kind of muscle his way through everything. And if he needed to, he could be a bully, you know, going back to season 10, like, why do you think you can bully everybody around? And that's when he was feeling really insecure and really afraid. That was how he would respond when he felt like he needed to step in and try and take control, or if he felt like he needed to just fix something, right? Like he's the kind of guy that comes in and tries to muscle his way in when he's feeling like things are out of control, because that's how he feels more secure about it. I think he's the kind of guy that needs to have that kind of level of security and needs to feel like he's in control of the situation. And so when it was his own body that was essentially going against him and taking that control away, and there wasn't really anything he could do, God, like, what a perfect thing to have happen, to have him really turn introspective and kind of change his whole worldview. Because I mean, obviously after that, we see a lot of crazy things happening. We see him selling Big River. We see him becoming very just kind of mild and wanting less and needing less. And then, for God's sake, we see him get married to Jessica and go and get married in Peru on top of a mountain. And like, suddenly he's this guy that's like, everything's chill, everything's fine. Like, he comes home and Jack is like, hey, we need to talk business. And for once, Tim's the one who's like, nah, we're good. Like, I
Chill.
just got back, man. Like, I just got back. Let's talk about business later. And Jack was like, what? And I think that development makes it, even though it took so many seasons, I think that was really brilliant on the part of the writers, because we've known Tim for so long, and it makes that change more impactful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I honestly, the people who say that he's a narcissist or that he's just like this horrible, selfish character, they're not watching the same show that we're watching, honestly. Like, I don't want to directly call anybody out, but like, you can't really think that after watching the show for so long, because he can be a jackass, he can be a jerk, he can be really just abrasive and tumultuous and impulsive. But I think that makes him a really human character. And you also see the moments, like a lot of the commenters were saying, you see the moments where he's like genuinely such an incredible guy and such a great dad to the girls. And it seems like he's forever trying to make up for something, trying to make up for those 10 years that he wasn't in his daughter's lives by going above and beyond for them. And it doesn't always work out. It's not always, he always thinks he's doing the right thing. He's not always doing the right thing. He screws up.
Yeah, the narcissist comment was just kind of like out of nowhere, because he's a lot of things, but he's not a narcissist, because narcissists won't take accountability for their actions and they won't see any fault in themselves. But I don't see that in Tim. Like, maybe in the moment he'll be like, yeah, I'm right or whatever, but he'll come back around. Like, for example, when he punched the Grady in season 15, but he came around and he owned up to his mistakes. Like, that's not something a narcissist would do.
Well, and also he used to get really defensive about like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I know I wasn't here for my girls for 10 years. Like, why are you bringing this up? Why are you bringing up this baggage? And then the second to last episode of season 15 with the endurance race, and he notices Logan is avoiding his dad's calls. He's like, kid, I screwed up. I was not there. And I wish to God that, I had changed that. And I guarantee that your dad is also regretting the mistakes that he has made. You need to talk to him. And like, he doesn't know this kid. And like the one commenter said, he was just accusing him of stealing from Heartland like a couple weeks ago. Like, what? But the fact that he came back in and was like, hey, as a guy who has fucked up royally, sorry, I don't know if I can say that, as a guy who has screwed up royally, I guarantee that your dad is also beating himself up, and that you should talk to him about this. And like the way that he was just so open and direct about the fact that he really regretted everything that he did, and really regretted the fact that he had that distance, and just that whole scene just completely blows my mind, because there were times where he was really defensive and didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to be like, oh, that's in the past. But now he's like, no, I have to talk about it. I have to be upfront with it, because it's something that weighs on me otherwise.
The accountability is finally there, like he's not denying it, and he's not defensive about it anymore, especially with his alcoholism too. that he
Yeah.
could get defensive.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that whole point about the brain tumor, whatever it was, like to think his attitude, like before, like he's this rodeo guy who's been through like all kinds of accidents and all that kind of stuff, and he's like, I'm unbeatable, like I'm such a man, like, and then he has the big accident that leads to him using pills or whatever, and he's like, I can fix this, like I'm in control, and like
Yeah.
I can handle this. And then at some point he notices that, oh no, I'm not in control, like these pills or booze is, all of that is in control, like I need to stop and get in control of my own life. And to kind of like, he goes through that and he's like, okay, I'm back in control, and then this shadow in his brain happens and it's back to like, I'm not in control, like what can I do, like there's no pill to get rid of this, or like I need to figure something else out. And I think that's just nice to kind of see how he's evolved in that kind of situation as well.
Agreed.
He's dealt with a lot of things externally that have happened to him. He had the accident, he had the gunshot wound, he, has fallen off of horses, but it's all stuff that has happened to him that has been by an external force, and he's muscled his way through it.
Yeah.
But the shadow in his brain is something internal, like physically there, but also internally that dealing with it. And I think it's just such a, like I could go for hours about it and just talk about how significant that is, that he couldn't muscle his way. He couldn't get angry. He couldn't just, oh, I'm going to ring my bell and have someone bring me food and it'll be fine. Like, he couldn't do anything about it. And it put him in a state of feeling really powerless because, I mean, he's an incredibly insecure individual, I think. And, he really had to face up to the fact that he is not going to be able to muscle his way through this one. He's not going to be able to just grit his teeth and bear it, pour the alcohol down the drain and keep going. This was something that he had to face head on. But I will say, I think the accountability was always there, because when Miranda came back in, was it season 4 where he first found out? Yeah, season 4 where he found out that he had Shane. He was dating Janice, and like immediately after Miranda came back and was like, I have a son, like one of the next cut scenes is him telling Janice, shit, I have a kid. Like, I don't know what to do about that. And to me, that's a level of accountability, because what guy wants to go to their girlfriend and be like, so
especially Janice. Like Janice was like,
Janice, who like,
he even admitted that he's scared of Janice. So wow.
Yeah.
So he's always been in his own backwards kind of way accountable. He hasn't always done it right. And he screws up a lot, but there's just something about him that I think is so very human and so very real. And maybe that's what people don't like about him, is because he learns and then he also makes the same mistakes again. And that's something that everybody does.
Yeah, it's human
and
nature.
He's not this, perfectly arced character. I would say his character arc has kind of gone up and down and changed shape and changed colors and kind of like gone backwards and forwards and up and down. And maybe that's where people kind of have that struggle with him. They're like, oh, he never learns. I'm like, no, he does. He's just human and he screws up.
Yep. It's so weird how there's so much hate for the characters that are the realist. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I've always wondered, like, why don't I have a problem with him? Because in a way, he's like, he does these like wrong things and says wrong stuff, or like kind of harsh sometimes. But at the same time, I don't hate him, or I don't have a problem with him. I just think he's very interesting and layered and real and honest. And I don't know, there's something about that kind of hits really strongly for me. And I don't know.
He can be a hard ass, but he's never cruel. He's never outright just mean to be mean. I think like he can be really, he can be a jerk, but like
there's always like an underlying reason for it, because
yeah,
he doesn't he doesn't necessarily mean it because it's like how he took out, like for example, beginning of season 11 when he found out he was sick or whatever and he started becoming angry. He wasn't necessarily angry at them, he was angry at the world, he was angry at
he was
what he was
scared.
going through. He was in pain.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the other thing to look at, that sometimes people say things and they're saying it because they're hurting, not because they mean it or because it's true. So
he got very good at being introspective too, and he got really good at seeing other people for what they were dealing with, because at the beginning of season 14 when they go on the cattle drive with Quinn, he calls Jack out for being mean. He's like, the Jack I know is never mean, you are being mean to Quinn. And Jack was like, well, he screwed up, da, 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 da. And Tim's like, no, you know, that's on us, right? Like we're in charge of this. Those missing cows are because we didn't do something right. Don't be mad at Quinn because he's not the one you're mad at. You're mad that Ty isn't here anymore. And I mean, like what? Like what a 180 for Tim, because he's always been like, I'm angry and I don't really know why. But suddenly he's turning around and he's telling Jack to lay off, and telling Jack like, hey, this is why you're pissed.
It completely swapped roles, because for so long it was Jack doing that for Tim. And then it was like probably the first time we've ever seen Tim be the calm, cool, collected adult and Jack being the mean one. But once again, for underlying reasons. But agreed.
Oh yeah. But like, it's incredible. Like, I don't know how you can watch a scene like that and not at least appreciate the fact that Tim has changed.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think I remember when I was watching that episode with the cattle drive and Quinn, and I was like, whoa, like Jack's really mean. But then I remembered he was kind of like that with Ty in the first season. And I think some of that was because, you know, Ty's death and, you know, all that kind of dealing with that, and then going back to kind of the start of them. But at the same time, season 1 Jack didn't have Tim back then in the same way that he has now. So it was interesting to kind of see what if season 1 Jack and season 14 Tim would meet like that. That's the scene that happened.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's so weird to think about. What?
Oh man.
Because like you can really see the difference if when you could like that. Yeah.
Well, and even in the first season when they meet up with Tim on the cattle drive, like Tim is just outright nice to Ty and Jack. Like he's not, he pokes at Jack. He does. He pokes the bear. And like, he gets beat up for it, rightly so. But like he's still like, hey, he still came back to try and find them, and he's like, are you guys okay? He wasn't trying to really, you know, I think it was Jack was kind of acting like, oh, you're trying to show me up, but like I don't think that ever really crossed Tim's mind. He genuinely went out and was like, hey, are you guys okay? Like, what's going on? And just was never outright. I mean, he was poking at him for sure. Like,
but I think at that point, even his presence was enough to kind of piss off Jack.
Yeah.
So
I love that idea though. The season 14 Tim with season 1 Jack. Like, what would have been different?
Yeah, because
that's incredible to think about.
Wow.
What about his relationships? Not like romantic relationships, but like Jade, Georgie. What do you think about those relationships he has with those characters and the growth that he's shown during them?
Right. You know,
I think Jade always stands out the most for me when it comes to Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I also had a thought about Quinn.
Go for it.
And Jack and Tim. I think what's interesting about Jack being so mean to Quinn is that I think he was thinking about the first time that Ty went on the cattle drive, but he was also seeing how different Quinn was from Ty. And I think that was also making him really mad. And I think that is also what Tim picked up on, which to me is just sorry, I just had to throw that out there because it,
No,
it just
you're right.
I'd like that
You're
whole
right.
that
Like the
whole-
selfie thing, like that would have set
yeah.
me off the edge too, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So, oh god, agreed.
Yeah, and like the fact that Quinn was so eager to please and like Ty was not. Ty was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
screw you guys. Like
You're like, I don't
Yeah.
even want to be here. So like, what's
Yeah,
your problem?
literally. Yeah.
But oh my gosh. Tim and Jade, wow. Like it's almost like he got a second chance with having a daughter and
Yeah.
going through the teenage years because like obviously it's not the same, but God, what a great mentor he was to her. And that scene after she's essentially like propositioned by that janky teenage boy who was like, let's go down to the quarry and make out, which is like, that's all you want to do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He really just steps up and sits with her and makes her feel better. And I love that he never like, he never blamed her. He never like, well, what were you doing in the car? What did you think was going to happen? He was more like, no, guys suck. Like they suck. And
Yeah.
I can't believe that happened. And I'm sorry, but you know, he never once kind of takes this approach of being like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done this in the first place, which I think you could have expected from Tim at that point. You know, like you could have, if he had said that probably wouldn't have been too out of character for him. But even then, you know, before season 8 of Heartland, he's not victim blaming. You know, he's like, oh my God, this happened and this is awful and I'm sorry.
Yeah. That really won me over with the relationship. I was like, damn, like that's exactly what Jade needed to hear. And I just like love that it was Tim saying it because, you know.
Well, we also know that she doesn't really have that father figure in her life. So she, like, how do you know if you've never had it? So that was probably that character's first time ever having that kind of connection, maybe with a male role model. So I think they both do each other equally good.
Yeah, and I think in season 10, when Jade's all excited about, you know, going this trip with her dad, and Tim's like, oh, okay, fine, you can have a few days off from work, because he knows that kind of relationship. And then at the barn at Heartland, when Jade's acting kind of grumpy, he's like, okay, what's going on, what's with you? And he listens and lets her talk, and she has that safety in that conversation, and I just love that scene.
Agreed.
Oh God, that's such a heartbreaking one too. And then when he gets that news about the shadow and he's working with the health stuff, the first thing he doesn't tell Jade, which probably wasn't the best decision, but he's immediately trying to make sure that she's going to be okay. Because I think he worries that she won't be unless he sets her up for success. Like he pushes her to go to college in Texas. He pushes her to get that scholarship because he wants her to be okay and like be set up for the future. And just like takes it upon himself to make sure that happens, because either he doesn't trust that it's going to happen or he knows that he's the only one who can. But like, you kind of wonder like, oh, why is he doing it? And then it comes out, oh, he's doing it because he's really worried about what's going to happen next. Like he's terrified of what's coming. So he wants to make sure that she's going to be okay.
Because he's kind of like fast forwarding their relationship of what it could have been if they had more time. Because in his mind, he's like, I'm gonna, die soon or something. So
yeah. And it's like, I love their dynamic. I really do. And I'm thinking about, I'm trying to remember with the whole sponsorship that Jade and Caleb got. Wasn't he was pissed about that. And he was like, no, it's not a good idea. And it just goes to show that he, on one hand, he comes across as like, oh, you have to win, you have to push hard. But he's like, but don't compromise your morals. Don't present yourself as something that you're not, and don't sell yourself short. Like you can do this because you're damn good at what you do. And you don't have to, wear tiny little short shorts to prove it.
Yep.
And I feel like
Tim's a feminist icon. Like if you think about it, the man's not a feminist icon.
I mean,
To be
yeah,
honest,
like
like-
he really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even in season 10, doesn't he say something like, I'm all about the female issues these days or whatever?
I'm all about women and their issues these days.
What do you guys think? I know we talked a little bit about Jack already, but do you think the relationship between Jack and Tim was needed to kind of give him that redemption arc, sort of? Or would he have been able to get that with other characters? Because I feel like with them, it's kind of in the center of their relationship. Like, do you think, because I feel like, yeah, he has this like relationship with Amy and Lou now, but not in the same way that he has with Jack. And because sometimes I feel like it's Tim's redemption, or whatever you want to call it, is kind of sold through Jack's opinion about him. Because I know the audience kind of,
That's true.
you know, loves Jack so much that they kind of go with whatever he's feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people tend to forget that Tim broke Jack's heart too when he left. I think, you know, obviously he was angry because Tim broke Marion's heart and left his daughters, and obviously, but like you always hear him in the first few seasons, oh, he's my ex-son-in-law.
Yeah.
And like that to me just rings out, like he's always emphasizing that because he's showing that it ended. And that I feel like that emphasis on that ending shows that he's really upset about it. You know, I think Tim was at first almost like a son to Jack, and we don't know what their relationship was like prior to season 1, but through context, I think Tim leaving really, really hurt Jack deeply. And he put on more or less, that he was mostly angry about him hurting his daughter, but I think there was genuine deep hurt at that loss of the relationship there. And probably a little bit of, now that we've learned more about Jack and how he was with his father, almost like a sense of betrayal and like this sense of like, oh my God, he's acting just like my dad. And it can't happen like this. And just this whole devastation that he definitely needs Jack's redemption to continue on, because that was a relationship. That was another very hurt family member, someone who loved him a lot, that needed to be healed and fixed. So absolutely, he needed Jack.
Yeah.
And I think that's really overlooked sometimes, at how hurt
That's true.
Jack was.
Yeah.
I think it was very hard for him.
Yeah. What about his son-in-laws in a way? I mean, Peter, Ty, I guess Mitch in a little bit as well. Like he gave Peter the general nickname, and then Mitch was Trooper and all that. Like, what do you think about that dynamic? Like the protective side of Tim, you know, his daughters and all that. Like, any
I think
thoughts?
that's typical dad thinking no one's going to be good enough for his daughters. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that, like, was he over the top sometimes? Oh yeah, absolutely. Was he over the top for Tim? No. I think that tracks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think that tracks.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, it's almost like not giving Ty a nickname, thinking about that, it's kind of like,
That's
it's like he,
true.
yeah, well, but it's like he always knew that Ty was good enough, or like he
He
I'm
knew
trying to think
he
of it.
knew that Ty was gonna die, so he's like, "What's the point?"
he's like, what's the point? It's fine. Like,
But didn't Jack say when Mitch was like, well, he keeps calling me this like Trooper nickname or whatever, he
was a-
said like it was this horse that, you know, it's a sign of respect or something like that. I
Yeah.
think
but he sure
Maybe-
hated him though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think he also respected Mitch in a way, even though, you
Yeah.
know, he was just pretty harsh with him sometimes as well. But I don't know if that ever was the case with Peter, even though,
Yeah.
I think he saw Peter making mistakes that he was relating to his own mistakes. It wasn't the same thing. It wasn't leaving because of alcohol and pills. It was leaving because of a job, which I think was still putting something external before his family. And I think that's where he was really hard on Peter, where he was like, no, you are going to fuck this up. Like, you're screwing this up and you need to stop. You need to put Lou first because that's what she deserves. And then also you need to realize that you're going to regret not doing this later on.
Yeah.
And, strike me down. Tim was right. Like, he did regret it. He did put everything else first and then he regretted it. And he spent years chasing Lou and trying to get her back, and trying to rebuild their family. So, I think a lot of that was just stemming from the fact that he saw someone else doing what he did by putting something else before his family and the family that they love. It was even the parallel with them having 2 daughters and like the daughters being like 10 years apart in age. Like, the parallel there is crazy. Like, let's think about that for a second.
Yeah.
And so I think he was just really seeing his own mistakes playing out in front of him, even though not the same mistakes, but the same
Like
pattern,
similar,
the same
at least.
Yeah, the same response. you
Yeah.
know, something else before the family when he needed to put family first.
What about Tim's relationship with Caleb? Like, what do you think about that? Do you think he has this like father-son type of relationship, or is it strictly business, or like any thoughts about that? Because Caleb's he's a particular character in a way. Because
I can't
Caleb was idolizing Tim, and he was like, oh my god, it's Tim Fleming, and he was like, who is this dumbass?
Caleb has changed a lot too, though.
Yeah.
Like, he was at first kind of brought in. Sorry, I'm gonna throw a pillow at my cat. Stop.
Love that for you.
So Caleb has changed a lot, and I feel like that has to be kind of mentioned when talking about their relationship, because season 2, when we first introduced Caleb, he's obviously designed to be a foil to Ty. He's supposed to be the suave cowboy, and he's supposed to be like this very like smooth talking ladies man, like, how you doing, kind of thing. But and then when he meets Tim for the first time, he's really like calm and collected. He's like, how you doing, sir? Like, come watch me ride, do this. And he's like, kind of like standing up for Tim. When there was a scene where I think Amy was jumping Storm in season 2, and Ty was like, oh, the ground is really like crappy.
Yeah.
Like, she shouldn't be jumping in this. And he was like, oh no, cowboy rides in any kind of weather, any condition, whatever he says. And Tim's like, oh yeah, like, spoken like a true cowboy. And Caleb's like, that's right. I said that to me. I said that. And then like, 10 seasons later, he's like, hi Tim, how you doing? What's going on? Hi, I'm really excited to work with you. I can't wait to be your best friend. I'm going to change everything that you like about your business, but it's going to be great anyway. Hi. It's like, he's gone from being this very like, I think he was supposed to be kind of this really suave character and kind of like smooth talking. And then someone who had a stroke of genius realized, no, we need to throw that out the window and make him just this complete goofball, which I think is way better for the show as a whole.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to talk about that kind of front that he was putting with Tim at first and trying to act all cool and confident. And then he actually becomes confident, and he doesn't have to be cool for it. He can say, when Tim came back from his honeymoon, yeah, I digitized everything and it works. You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, I'm not just going to put the kids on Bronx and have them ride until it's, midnight and they're exhausted and can't stand anymore. No, I'm also going to talk about, sports psychology and like putting their mind and their body together to work in, just becoming confident versus just pretending to be, because I don't think he was at all in season 2, if that makes sense. So I don't even know if I would put it as a father-son relationship.
It's different. It's
But,
unique.
like,
like
mentors.
that's
They're
more like it.
co-workers. They're friends. I don't know. Acquaintances.
Yeah.
It's almost like almost like an uncle and a nephew, you know, like
That's
not
a good
necessarily
way.
father
Or like
son, but
people
like,
who like, yeah, people who call someone their uncle or their aunt even though they're not. They just that's kind of
yeah,
like that kind of vibe. Yeah. I
and
mean,
kind of
I would.
mentorish and kind of like,
Yeah.
I want to be like Tim, but then also like recognizing Tim's flaws.
Yeah.
But
It's different.
I love in season 3 when Caleb is like suddenly taking all those pain pills. And Tim is like, you are going to destroy your life if you keep doing this, and you need to wake up. I think that was one of the first scenes where I was like, I liked him a lot. I
Yeah.
like him a lot because
Yeah.
that also took guts. We don't really talk about, I don't really think there was a lot of discussion about what happened with Tim aside from his perspective before that. You know, like we had Jack telling the girls, oh, he was on pills and I kicked him out and blah, 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 blah. And then there was little talk of like, oh yeah, I wasn't here for a while. But like that scene is kind of the first time we hear Tim acknowledge the mistakes that he made. And I think that's really powerful and impactful.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that they had drawn on that a little bit more, because it really is the first time we hear it from his perspective. And he's scared for Caleb. Like he's terrified for Caleb. And that's why, again, he's being a bully. He's being rude. He's like being a big guy and trying to rough him around and be like, you need to snap out of it, because he's scared that Caleb's about to do the same thing that he did.
Yeah.
And I don't even think by then they were super close. They were still kind of working together and in the same, you know, circles. But I mean, Tim didn't have to go in and step in like that, but he did, because he cared and because he was afraid of what was happening with Caleb. So I love their relationship. I think they're great together as partners. I think they're great together as not even friends, but just working together. It's just, it works. It works.
Yeah, I love the scene with them in a truck. I can't remember which season it was, but Tim was like, do you hear yourself? From Caleb, and
he's
Caleb's
like, I tend to fade in and out.
Yeah, it's like that's them.
Yeah, I think that's 5:14. It's time for Tim thing, and Caleb jumps into his truck and he says, and then he said, and then he's like, I didn't even vote for you or something. Like, oh my gosh, it was so good, so good.
Oh my god, yeah. And I thought it was interesting too how Caleb was like wanting to quit the rodeo after he had that accident. I think it was season 14, and was like afraid because he's like, I'm a dad now, I have to be serious. And and Tim was like, no, like, what are you talking about? You can still work for me and still run the rodeo school. I need you here, which I think was really important and powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, question 3 for you, or maybe more of a topic. I guess let's dive into his romantic relationships, and that list is kind of long, so maybe we'll just kind of go one by one, maybe?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I guess we can start with Marion.
The overarching theme I've seen for Tim is that all of his relationships, all of the women have been very independent and very strong. And that's kind of fun to think about. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Miranda. I'm going to throw that out there now. So she might be the exception to the rule. But maybe that's why she didn't work out, and why I dislike her so much is because she wasn't really as. I mean, she was. I don't want to say that. I don't want to.
She was troubled.
It's not true. It's not true, because she did raise a whole ass kid by herself. Like she did the thing. But there was a vulnerable side to her that I think stands out from the rest of them. But the overarching theme I've seen is that they've all been very independent and very like strong women. And I think he needs that, because he himself is not as strong as he wants people to think he is.
Yeah.
My first thought.
I was thinking when I was going through the topics we could talk about, like, you know, obviously Marion dies in episode 1, but just to kind of go back to that kind of redemption arc, like what a different story it would have been if Marion would have still been alive and Tim would have gone back to their lives and be like, hey, like, I want to be part of my daughter's lives. Like, that would have really been interesting to see, because we know that Jack was, you know, mad at him, and I guess Marion was as well. But like, what would have been her strategy to kind of meet in the middle with Tim to kind of be like, okay, you want to be around, like whatever, like you can have the relationship with Amy and Lou, but like, would she have been like, I'm not interested, or would she have been like, okay, maybe there's still something there? Like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about like what could have happened if Marion was still alive back in season 1?
Oh wow.
I have a question about that. So the letters that they found in season 1
Right.
were written like, what, about 8 years prior? Like, I don't think it was the full 10 years, but he wrote the letter to be like, I miss you and I want to come back. That whole thing. As far as we know, that was the last time he reached out to Marion, right?
Yeah, probably. My memory is a little hazy about that. Like details.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
So my counter question is, would he have even been able to come back had Marion not died?
That's true, especially because we were talking about how these are all strong, independent women who, you know, see their worth and know their worth. She was probably like, no, I'm good. To be
Yeah.
honest with you. And at that point, was she not low-key involved with Victor?
Yeah, because that was something I thought about as well. Like, was she even like interested in, like, did she ever reply to those letters, or did she ever pick up a phone, or like, I can't remember. Yeah, so maybe she wasn't interested in having him there anymore.
But she was only briefly involved with Victor. If I'm remembering correctly, season 2, they were talking about like, oh, healing Pegasus together. But at one point he says, oh, but she said that her heart belonged to another.
Yes, I just remembered that. You're right.
So like they had a fling, but like her heart was still with Tim.
So there is a possibility.
Yeah, like I'm sure like if she would have been alive back when Tim came back, she wouldn't it be like, oh, you came back, like let's get back together? No way. But she probably would have been a little bit like, okay, I want to like go through some things with you to kind of see if that chapter is closed, or if, you know, this is a better time and place or something like that. I don't know.
But didn't he come back because Marion died? Like I would, is the assumption that he had not even been living near Calgary, near Hudson, in Alberta at all up until then. So like, I just don't know if he would have tried to come back.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because like, the only reason he came back was because she died. Like, would he have ever tried to come back had she not died? Is what I'm thinking now.
For him to come back, it needed Lou to come back because of Marion died, for Lou to reach out to Tim, and you know, it's, you know, so many steps before he even came back. And
and I think in a way that was almost him being respectful, because they did tell him to go away. So it would have been disrespectful had he kept trying, you know what I mean, at that point. So I get why he was stayed away. If she was still alive and he decided to come back, it would have had to have been after Amy was already an adult.
How did Lou find him? Like, did they just always have his number and just like knew it was there? Or because like because when they were driving in the first episode, when Lou was driving Amy to school, she goes, oh, was Dad at the funeral? And then she goes, oh, he should have been, you know, I used to think about what I wanted, Dad, and he goes, and Lou says something along the lines of like, oh, he wanted to be, and Amy's like, you called him? And it's just like, it makes it seem like they had his, like, she had a way of getting in touch with him the whole time, and just didn't. So like, you know, and then she's like, I always wondered what it was like to have a dad. Now I just don't care. And so it just makes me feel like, okay, maybe that's also the kick that they needed to reach out to Tim.
I wonder if, because when Lou left Hudson and moved to New York, I wonder if she was like, okay, I'm leaving that part of my family behind, but I'm gonna look up my dad and just kind of make sure that I have this like connection to him if I need it at some point, because Tim has always kind of been Team Lou. So I feel like maybe there could have been an opening for that. I don't know if they would have actively kept in touch at that point, but just to kind of be like, hey, I'm moving away to New York. Like, this is what's happening in my life, and I just wanted to let you know. Or
Yeah.
We need a prequel series. I think that's
Yeah.
we just need a prequel series.
Literally.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, so who is next? Callie, I believe, is technically his
Allie,
first
who
girlfriend.
always looked like she was about to cry.
Honestly, it was so short-lived that it's not even worth talking about, to be honest. What was it
No,
like?
but I have a couple of thoughts about it.
Okay, go
Yeah.
for it.
Well, first of all, I think it was nice that because this is something I kind of wanted to see happen with Jessica. I know it's like years later, but when Amy found out that Tim was involved with Callie or interested or they were going out, they had this conversation like, okay, so
Right.
like, is this weird? And like how do you feel about this? And like, I love that they included that because I felt like even though they were only slowly,
We really didn't know Tim then.
yeah, they were only slowly building up that relationship again. He felt like it was important for him to kind of talk about that to her. So
And to like make sure that Amy understood, it's been a really long time since I was with your mom. And I know it doesn't feel like it for you, but for me, it's been a while. Again, but the accountability. He's not a narcissist. Like, he's not a narcissist. I'm sorry.
He's a lot of things, but he's not a narcissist. Absolutely not.
But then the way things ended with Callie, it was kind of awkward. But I did like the storyline with like when Tim got hurt and she was there and the bell and everything. But I feel a little bad for Callie for getting kind of involved with that strange situation and Tim's like inability to kind of know what to do in a relationship because maybe he hasn't really had a good relationship in the past. Like, I know he was married, but even that was like like on and off.
His first really solid relationship with Kate was Casey.
Yeah, for real though.
So after Callie, it was Janice.
Yeah.
Oh God. I think I hate her the most. I'm trying to say, is it Janice or is it Miranda that I hate the most? I don't know.
Yeah, that was rough time to kind of,
God.
I definitely hate Miranda more.
You really?
I don't really hate Janice in the way that I hate them together.
Okay, that's a good point.
I don't hate Janice because she's one of those, again, very strong-willed, independent women who knows what she wants, and gotta like support the ladies who do. But at the same time, they were just so wrong for each other. Like it just their philosophies about horses and like the way that she was kind of like spitting on how Amy worked with the horses. It just like it didn't work. It didn't work.
She always shit on the family, like constantly.
Yeah,
like,
even with Lou and the Dude Ranch and like
she didn't get it. She did not get family.
No.
I think that's the thing. Like, she did not get family, and she wanted her own family. She didn't want to be in the Bartlett Fleming family. She wanted her own family, which is fine. That can be really intimidating entering into a huge family like that. Like, I have
especially
a huge
when
family.
they don't like her.
Yeah. But like, I have a huge family. Like, I have cousins and we're all really close. And it's intimidating entering into our family. It is. Absolutely. I think that's why only one of us is married. No, two.
But I think like with Tim, like, even though he's kind of like he's trying to find his way back into the family. So it would have been bad if he would have been like, okay, I'm gonna choose Janice at this point and just like,
because she didn't
throw away all the work
I've she wanted her own family, and I love that in the end that's what she got. She did get married, she had a baby, and she is still caring about her horses. It just wasn't going to work out with Tim.
Agreed. Okay, so I have so many issues with Miranda. Oh my God. I think my main issue I had with Miranda is that she put all the trouble into having her son meet her father, then putting all the trouble into getting her son away from his father. And like within like 5 episodes.
180s. Constantly.
Like, make up your mind, honestly.
Yeah, and just like I'm so tired of fighting with you, bitch. Like, you started this. Calm down. Talk to him. Like, just immediately assuming the worst, which is fair. I mean, we don't know what he did when they were together in Fort St. John. Like, we don't know, but like,
Yeah,
girl.
but then dropping into Tim's life just kind of like unannounced, like that's, I don't know, it's just kind of the starting point was just like wrong for that, and I feel sorry for Shane kind of getting in the middle of that. Like, sure, he has a right to his dad, but I don't know, the circumstances were a little too explosive.
I found myself constantly agreeing with Tim when problems in their relationship arose. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I don't get why she's doing this. I don't get why she's mad. I don't get it. That was just me. I was like, I couldn't wait for that character to leave. And I felt like it had nothing to do with Shane, but I was like, she was just drove me nuts.
Constantly running scared, you know, like it seems like. And I think that's kind of why, like, she is a very strong person. Like, she raised her kid and she did it well, and she obviously put him first, which makes her, she's an incredible person. But I think there was this like almost like needy side of her that I think didn't work. And I think she was expecting Tim to be like this very clean cut, gentlemanly guy, which he just isn't, you know, like, he's Tim. He's kind of a jerk.
And it does make me wonder, because didn't she have like a history with alcohol or something? And like the circumstances they met under, like if they would have clicked, if it wasn't for that kind of thing to bond them together, like
it was definitely kind of, I think, a toxic relationship. I think they just altogether weren't good for one another. And they wanted to make it work, but I think like
you can't force that. If it doesn't work, like even for a kid, like even if you have a kid together, like it's okay, like if you're not together, you can still have some kind of relationship, you know, around that, you know, having a kid. But just,
and they're constantly trying to put blame on one another for something not working, when in truth it just was the both of them.
That's fair. Oh gosh, so what?
But they also didn't really write Miranda that well too.
Oh my god, it was bad. It was like, so bad.
Some of the delivery of her lines, I cringe. Like, I just cringe. She was
cringe.
Like, what do you want, Shane? I'm like, oh my god.
You already know what he wants. Like, we know what he wants. Like, I can tell you what he wants.
You don't need to be. I'm like, first of all, you're screaming at a horse who's right there, so that's a bad thing to do. And also just like escalation. You don't need to do that. Like,
she was a very angry person, I found.
She was a very emotional one.
Yeah, and it's like, I felt like Tim and Miranda didn't work because they were almost too alike in the way that they both had their own trauma that they weren't dealing with outside of the relationship, but they brought their trauma to the relationship, and they were,
I think you just nailed it.
Their past experiences, they were projecting onto each other, and they're like, well, this happened, so you must be doing this again, or you did this once, so you must be like crap like that, right? So I was just like, they were just like the absolute worst. I'm starting to believe now even worse than Janice. So
oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But then comes Casey.
Oh my god, she was so pretty.
Oh my gosh, how long were they together for? So what, season 8 she comes in, so 9, 10, and her last season was, well, she did an episode in 12, I believe, or was it 13? No, it was 12.
Oh my
no, it was 13.
12.
I think it was 13. Are you sure?
Looking up the episodes.
But anyway, she comes in season 8, and at that point, that was his most stable, healthy relationship.
Yeah. And I love that she was like not afraid to say when he was being a jerk or acting weirdly, and like whenever he was keeping something from her, she was like, just tell me, like, what's going on, like, be honest. And I love that she wasn't like, okay, like, fine, whatever, be on one of your moods. Like, I love that she did that, but she was never like mean about it. She was very empathetic and
kind.
gentle. Yeah, kind and
She was so understanding, and we come to learn that's because of her past relationships. Like, it's not her first rodeo in more ways than one. So she was just she was just empathetic, and she listened, and it was something that Tim needed. They kind of balanced out each other.
yeah, and the family loved her like immediately, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, she's the best.
Yeah. Even Lou, and that takes a lot to please her. So it was like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you were right. It was season 13, episode 8 is when a former flame of Tim's returned to Hudson and
Right,
was his help
okay.
putting together a rodeo.
So it's only been 2 seasons, and then literally, so they technically break up in season 11, though. Am I correct? Because she wasn't in.
Yes, they do for a minute because
yeah,
of health issues, sort of.
When did they actually break up then? I'm trying to think.
No, but
Well-
they did have a breakup before then.
but the Tim was supposed to propose to her, but then he was like, nah,
Oh, we
I'm not
never
gonna do.
saw that. Oh,
Yeah.
12. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Right.
So she wasn't in it, but it was implied that they were still together at that point. But then it's just
we
you know,
never saw the potential engagement or the breakup, the actual breakup. Okay, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So he
Doesn't,
was,
but it-
yeah, he was really serious with her, and you know,
Yeah.
I felt
But
like
they did break up before then. Didn't they break up in season 9 for a little bit?
was it 9 or was it 11? I thought it was 11 when Tim gets sick. I thought he tries to break up with her or something, right?
But don't they break up before then too? Like briefly?
When did they break up? Well, I don't even remember when they actually got together, because she comes in season 8, but it takes them a minute to actually
Mhm.
get together, if I'm correct. Oh gosh.
I could be completely lying about that.
But
too.
it's also his longest relationship, including Jessica at this point. So, and maybe even Marion, perhaps. So it's it's they did break up, though. I know that for sure before the breakup.
but I love that when they met, it was like really natural for them to kind of, and he was just like, oh my God, this woman, and he kept like, you know,
He crashed his
driving,
truck,
yeah,
Yeah.
like that just tells it all.
It's almost like what I think happened with Casey is that Tim needs a strong, independent woman, but he also needs someone who's going to be there for him when he's not strong and independent. When he's feeling down, he needs someone to take care of him. And I don't think Casey could.
was so broken. Yeah, she was so broken from everything that had happened to her and the death and
Yeah.
everything, that she didn't have it in her at that point.
No. And I also think she kind of just expected, not like expected, but like she kind of picked herself up with her own bootstraps, that she didn't really know how to help someone else, because that was her norm, was to just continue on. And she didn't know how to put herself in shoes of someone else who can't just automatically do that.
Yeah.
I think really the end of it is something that I don't like how the writers ended Tim and Casey.
Yeah, agreed.
I think, as you kind of said it well, that like after all that time, I think we deserve to see why the engagement didn't happen and why she turned him down. Like, I think, because wasn't it that he just came back in the season finale and was like, oh, it didn't work. And that like he was with Lou and they just like rode off in the sunset and like that was it.
I wish I could
Or maybe
remember
Amy.
what episode. I 12 is like the season I know the least, and that's when that happened. So I couldn't even tell you when that
And like
is.
for me, like then when Casey comes back in season 13, it was like, it's nice to know she's doing okay, but it was kind of like,
Ouch.
Why?
Yeah, it was just kind of like a stab in the back after a whole year. Actually, at that point, it would have been like a year and a half of them not being together.
Yeah, something like that.
It was just kind of like, I don't know. It was just kind of like a stab in the heart to the character, maybe even, because it's like poor Tim. Like that was a relationship that ended not because they didn't love each other or whatever, but just it just didn't work out for other reasons. So,
I wish we had seen that.
Yeah. But then comes Jessica in season 14, I think episode 5. Episode 5.
And I was prepared to hate her. I was prepared to think that this was the dumbest idea. Lou's ex-boss. I was wrong. I humbly admit I was wrong. I adore them. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, did we know that she was going to be a love interest? Oh God, I'm trying to think.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
She was in the
Yeah.
preview, and that's the first time we saw her character was in the preview, but there wasn't any implication that that was a love interest. No, there was. In the season 14 preview, there's a picture of
Oh,
Tim and Jessica with each other. Oh my God, I'm so smart. We didn't kind of know.
what was there a clip in the teaser like where they're sitting by the bond, like when they're doing the skating thing? And
Yeah,
they're
like I
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
there
yeah.
was a little bit. Okay.
we did. Okay. Yes. I'm remembering
Yeah.
now. My memory.
I'm trying to think too, and it's like I
Yeah.
don't know, but I guess we must have suspected that at least.
But I don't think
Yeah.
we knew who she was.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
and I don't think any of us expected her to last. Like,
Yeah.
No kidding.
You're like,
yeah.
oh, good, another love interest for Tim.
Yeah.
I think at that point I was still like, bring back Casey. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no,
Yeah.
Jessica
Yeah.
is so good for him.
Yeah.
Like, just
Mhm.
I was like, no, I loved him with Casey, but then it was like, I can't resist Jessica. But
Yeah.
like, I was like, oh, okay, fine, I like them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and just something about how Tim was trying to like emulate what she did after she got her cancer. She kind of like gave up the stuff in life that didn't matter to her and started pursuing what she loved. And that was what Tim was trying to do.
Yeah.
But he kind of went about it sporadically and like got rid of all of his possessions, moved into the house, was like sayonara, and wasn't actually happy with all of it. And so like meeting Jessica, I think showed him, oh, that's maybe what I was looking for.
Mm.
More so than having less is more like just doing what I want and pursuing happiness, which
Living
I
in the
think
moment kind of thing.
yeah, which wasn't necessarily for him getting rid of all of his stuff and just living with little. It was more like living with only what was important.
Right.
And that's what I think he missed and what Jessica showed him how to do.
Kind of like living with more intention. Like to
And then he traveled the world and like got married in Peru, which is crazy because when they go back to Mongolia in season 11, he's like, oh my God, no one speaks English. He's like, he sounds like an American in that episode.
Yeah.
He's like, why does anyone speak English? He sucks. This sucks. And like, he's the worst traveler. Like that is like,
yeah.
I'm like, Tim, how much time
Nightmare.
did you spend in my country before you went back to Alberta? It doesn't look good on you. It doesn't look good on you. And then he's like, oh my God, we went and did all of this crazy stuff. Like we camped out and we got married on a mountain and we had tea and I wore these clothes and ate this food and we traveled. And I was like, what? Tim, who? You were like so pissed off to be in a third world country like 3 years ago. And again, that character arc, the fact that he has changed, I cannot get behind an idea that he has constantly been this stagnant character because he absolutely has not.
Yeah. Like to think like if you would put like a clip from season 1 or like season 2, maybe more like, because he started to show more of his character next to season 15 clip, like completely different.
Completely different.
And like not just looks wise either.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And I think people like to say that he's selfish, but I think that's because like out of all of the characters there, he's the one that's like most honest when he's being selfish.
Yep.
Like he's very upfront when he's being selfish. But the thing is like who isn't selfish? You
At
can't
least he's
have-
honest.
Yeah, like people are selfish all the time. It's a part of human nature. And like the idea of hating him, it kind of brings me back to that quote of like the things you hate in others are the things you hate in yourself.
Mm.
And I think that could be true maybe in this point where it's like we hate to see someone just being human and making mistakes. We hate to see someone being selfish and acting irrationally or impulsively because we know that that's something that we might do sometimes too, and seeing
Yeah.
the consequences that follow.
Yeah, and I was just thinking like it's so like his character to make kind of, I don't know, not rash decisions, but like quick choices or stuff like that. And it's like, I know for me, that's like really difficult. So
Mhm.
maybe in a way I'm like jealous that he can just do it, and he's like this Teflon Tim, like, you know, and I'm like, I could never do that. Like, takes so much planning to do anything really.
To leave
and
my house.
yeah. And he's
Oh my
like,
God.
oh, I just sold Big River, like no big deal.
Sold
like,
Big River.
like
I just bought Big
what?
River and I sold it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When they got back from getting married in the season 15 episode when they're sitting at the table and Lisa's like, you had a ceremony, and he word for word says, yeah, laid back.
Right?
back.
Tim who?
Like, what do you mean? Oh,
What do you-
Tim is not laid back. I was like,
Did you have an anesthesiologist there with you that just like,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
It's the different kind of air, I guess.
It's
Yeah, the
lack of
mouth.
it. The altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. But I love Jessica for Tim because she's kind of, I think she's a lot of the really good things we've seen in previous partners.
Yeah.
But she's also very different. She's not just a horsewoman.
Yeah.
She's not just a mom or a business owner, or she's so multifaceted and she's so smart. Like she's brilliant, and she is so confident in herself. I think in ways that the other ladies also have been, but she also has that moment where she can take care of Tim, and she kind of gives him shit for it. Like there's a couple times where she'll be like, okay, like dumbass, why did you go and join the logging competition, the lumberjack competition? This is a dumb idea. But then afterwards she's like, okay, go take a bath. By the way, Tim, or Chris Bart, or whoever wrote that line, I am 26 years old and I take baths with Epsom salts on the regular. You are so like step off with the whole, what am I, 86 years old to have an Epsom salt bath? Bro, you do not know what you are missing.
But that's why he needs Jessica to kind of take him out of the comfort zone and all these like similar patterns that he repeats in some ways, and he's like evolving through her world or something.
But she's also really trying to understand him, because with their whole wedding, and she was like, I don't want a big ceremony. I don't want a big ceremony. And then Jack was kind of like, no, he's doing this because he wants you to be part of the family and to introduce you to the family. And he wants it to be blended. And she kind of like, she took that really well and kind of realized, oh, this is important to him for this reason. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm going to accept that, because even though it wasn't necessarily what she wanted, she realized it was important to him. And I think that's really good in partners to have that compromise, you know, like to have like, oh, I realize this is important. And although it wasn't necessarily my first choice, the reasoning behind it is important to the person that I'm marrying, where I'm married to. So yeah, we'll do it. We'll make it happen.
What did you think about the wedding or overall, and like the horse gift? And
oh my God, I mean, I'm such a sucker for like those, like you see them on YouTube or TikTok every now and again, like little girls get gifted horses that like, oh, we told them that he was sold, or like just surprising them, and they always make me cry because it's just so sweet. And so like that scene with Jessica being gifted the horse is just like, it's my favorite. I mean, lifelong horse lover. Just like the horse girl in me is just like, oh, you know, just loving it. I thought that was really sweet. I thought it was great. And it's great that he was like looking at her pictures. She didn't have to say outright that she loved him. She was kind of like taking a lot of pictures of him, and she was just admiring him, and like he was looking at her pictures and watching her while she was taking photos. He was observing her, and like in a way that like he knew her without having to be told, which I think is also really indicative of how much he's changed. He's not just like bulldozing ahead, you know, he was watching and learning, and like, this is something I think is a good idea, and nailed it. So that whole wedding scene I thought was really cute. Side note, this is not about Amy, obviously, but like I do kind of wish that they'd maybe played a little bit into her emotions with like being at another wedding. That would have been kind of
thank you. Like, what the hell?
Like, it's just so soon, and like that might have been something to go off of, and maybe bring into like seeing Grady a couple episodes later and like kind of tying that all in. But whatever.
Basically.
But
I
also
do
on a side. Oh, sorry,
do-
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I do wonder if there's like deleted scenes somewhere where Amy's kind of like, and Tim's like, "You okay?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just, wedding."
Hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope.
I'm at least glad that they put in the moment of Amy kind of like leaning on Caleb and being sad.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
morons were like, "Oh my god, they're gonna be together now." It's like, no, they're missing their best friend. Go away.
Literally. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. But then also the nonsense with Jade being like, "I'm a stranger, I've missed out." Why does every single woman on Heartland doesn't have to be like that doesn't have to be their only goal. Like I hope that if Jade comes back and she and Tim talk and she kind of says that to him, he's gonna be like, "No, what the hell? Go out and do your thing. Are you kidding?" Like
yeah, like you got time to do like all of that, like
all of that
later on if you want to, but like
I wish that conversation had been with Tim and not with Caleb.
Yeah.
Caleb, I think it was.
And like Jade and Jessica have never met, and Jade and Tim have such a close relationship. You'd think that may even have been the first introduction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Too little Jade overall last season.
Oh god. Okay.
And Georgie.
Yeah.
So, what do we? I guess this is such a loaded question, but what could or do we wish we could see with his character that they would explore more? And for me, that's his background.
Yeah,
absolutely.
same.
Where are the other grandparents?
Like,
where are the other grandparents?
Do we even know anything about them?
Does Tim have siblings? Does he have parents that are alive? Does because Amy and Luke could have like an aunt or an uncle somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with Marion. Well, Marion was an only child, but you know what I mean? Like we don't know anything.
We don't know anything else.
Yeah. So that's
and
my
like
answer to that.
I would love to know more about Tim's background.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I just like where did he grow up? Like where did he get into rodeo? Why did he get into rodeo?
Was he always like a ranch kid, or was that just something that he kind of
was he like Amber grew up in the city and then moved out to the country? Like
yeah.
Where does he get his humor from? Where does he get his personality from? Like, is it his mother? Is it his father? We don't know because we've never met either of them.
Yeah.
And they're quite probable that with age-wise that they are deceased, but there's a good chance that they're not. So.
Does he have a good relationship with his dad? And is that why he had a troubled relationship with Jack? Or did he know his dad growing up? Like where does he come from? And does he have siblings? Like is everyone else in this family an only child?
Yeah, like I could see him having like older brothers that he needs to kind of compete with, like, no, I want attention. And like
he's the youngest.
And he's
if they brought in a brother for him, an
older brother.
Yeah. And he turns into this like strange version of Tim, kind of going back to him being a kid again in the presence of his brother, because they have never like interacted.
Heartland writers, come on. I know you listen to this podcast. Do it. You can do this.
Okay, but to add on to this imaginary storyline, would we want them to have a close relationship, or are they, I assume they would come in estranged, that's how it works on the show, but in my mind they're close and they haven't seen each other for a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And he I can just see a scene with the older brother coming in and taking him under his arm and be like, "Oh, what's up, little brother?" And he's like,
and expecting Tim to like kind of respond in the way that he might have like season 1 and being like, like big man, kind of trying to bully him back, and then being totally blown away by the fact that Tim's like, stop.
Yeah, and Jack's like, what's going on with this dynamic?
And like Jack would obviously have to know this person, because I just feel like they were family at one point. You'd think they would know each other's family. So if Tim had a relative come back, it would only make sense that Jack would know them. Does that make
Unless
sense?
they had a really bad relationship and never
Fair.
saw Tim's side of the
That's a
family.
fair point.
Yeah,
Which
like-
honestly, for the show, that's how they would bring a character like that in. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Do you remember if they've ever talked about Tim and Marian's wedding? Like, was there any family from Tim's side there? Like, was it really small? Did they go to like?
The only time I've heard Tim talk about the wedding to Marian was when he was talking to Mitch and was like, "Oh, I wasn't afraid to marry her. I was just afraid of fucking up my vows." Like,
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that there was talk about, but I'm recalling that it's Jack and Lindy, not Tim and Marian. So I don't think we actually know anything about the wedding on the show.
Yeah, so I wonder if, his family wasn't there. Maybe Jack was like, do you need a best man or like whatever?
Yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
would love to know more. I would also, I think this is sort of related to your question, but I think if I could change one thing, it would be Amy not necessarily having to comfort Tim after meeting up with Grady. Like, I wish that had been a role reversal.
Yeah.
I wish Tim had stepped in and been more of the dad and let Amy be angry and rage and then be like, maybe you need to like take a step back and think about it. Like, I know we needed it for having Tim do a join up with Champ, but I think there was a better way to do that.
Oh, for sure.
And-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so
I-
many better ways.
I wish that had been reversed. I think that would have been a really, really excellent way to see his character changing. And I think that might also be where some people are like, he's never changed. He's still going out and punching people.
Mm.
Well, in that respect, yeah, they're right, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. But it didn't need to happen like that. Like, it didn't need to.
And I think it would have worked with the other way around as well, because as we've talked about, Tim has these moments like with Jade and all that, like he shows like, no, he can be like this empathetic person and a shoulder to lean on and just like give room for someone else's feelings. Like,
Yeah. Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so give us like, this might be hard for you to narrow down, Nenah, but give us like your top 5 favorite Tim moments.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh boy.
I'm trying to think myself, and I'm like, it's
I know,
impossible to
I
choose.
know.
Why did I
Yeah,
ask you?
so many.
Oh my god.
One of my favorites, I think, has to be Caleb and Tim in season 3.
Yeah.
In the cabin at the Dude Ranch. I think that's a really, really good one. I think my favorite one, if I have to pick a favorite, I'm gonna jump back and forth because this is just how they're coming to me. My favorite is Tim and Logan at the endurance race.
Interesting.
I think
Okay.
that is because I think that really, to me, sums up how much he's changed and how much he's absorbed the fact that like he
You're
has to
right.
be upfront about this, and he has to like, he also wants to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like him being so honest about everything that he's done in the past, that's incredible. That's huge growth.
I never even thought of it until you brought it up, so that's a very good point. Yeah.
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 The maternity belly.
Yeah.
And like how he's like getting up, he's like sitting down, he's like, oh, listen,
Oh
Jack,
my
you're
God.
overthinking this. Like, just,
Oh.
like acting like this is a whole zen because he has like the 50-pound weight on his belly. That's so funny.
Definitely.
And I do really love his join up with Champ.
Yeah.
I thought that was really sweet. I thought that was great. I'm trying to think if there's like a scene with Georgie that I really like for the two of them together.
I
think of
liked when he was giving her driving lessons and it was like, there was a nail
Yeah, that's
under
scary.
Oh my God.
and she was like,
And
oh, come on.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, another one is when they try to get the skunk out of the Dude Ranch cabin, and he goes, "I saved us
Oh my
like
God.
$300 that I didn't have to call the exterminator." And then she's like, and then he goes, $300 for the duvet? I have totally like, that is such a moment of like, duh, because I've totally done something like that where I thought I was making things easier, and that just totally made it
Yeah,
harder on
and
myself.
it's like it was written in the episode kind of like comic relief, but I know
Yeah.
it's something so simple, but that it just,
It
you
just
know,
escalated.
yeah.
And then okay, so what did I say? Caleb and Tim.
So you have Logan and Tim, you have the empathy belly, and then you have the one that you just mentioned. So 3 going so far.
No, 4, because I also Caleb and Tim and
Oh, you
season
have the
3.
Kev one, right? Okay.
Oh boy. Okay.
Man.
Like I just keep thinking like at moments like when Caleb's whistling and Tim's like really annoyed and like so many like
When Caleb's like, we need tools. And Tim's like, oh, I'll do it. And then he gets like all mad, we need tools. And Caleb's like, oh, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh my gosh. Also when he shows up with like the big tractor trailer to get all the horses off of the property.
Yeah.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Oh man. Yeah. I also thought this isn't really a favorite moment of mine, but I just think it just always makes me kind of laugh when he's like freaking out about Amy being in labor and he's like, I'm here, we're here, we're doing it. And he's like, we're doing this. And then as soon as she's like in active labor, he's like, like has to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, so
And then like
rude.
everyone's like, good job, Tim. Good job, Tim. Sir,
like-
he did nothing. He breathed.
Mm.
yeah.
I know. Oh my God. Yeah.
There's so
Um,
many.
Yeah.
Like to think the show without him, it's just like
It doesn't work.
yeah.
Exactly. Like you guys, like so many people love to hate him, but it's like truthfully, would there be any comedic relief without him? No. At this
And
point.
would there be
Very
some of the really
little.
heartfelt moments
Mm.
without Tim?
And I
so.
think that him being bully and also soft and then this comedic relief also works like when he's being emotional or vulnerable, it's like it hits harder because of those
Yeah.
reasons.
He's a
And-
really multidimensional person. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
And maybe that's where
exactly it.
people have an issue with him because he's not cut and dry. He's
Yeah.
not straightforward. He's not
Yeah.
just Tim, the cowboy or the dad. He's flawed and he's human and he's impulsive and he's really sweet, but he's also quick to judge sometimes. And he's also, sometimes he's selfish and sometimes he really puts everyone else first. And you can't really track him. But then again, like, I think that just makes him really real and really human.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Chris brings to the character because there's really no one who could ever play the character of Tim Fleming but Chris Potter.
No,
Because
Absolutely.
part of it's Chris. Because
I
any
agree.
conversation I've ever had with the man in person, he is so funny. I'm like, no wonder. Like,
Yeah.
he's just such a wonderful human and he's very talented. He really brings life to this phenomenal character.
Yeah.
Can
and
I backtrack and add another of my favorite moments?
Of course. Yeah.
When Tim goes, I'm going to build a wall.
Oh god. And Lisa's face, she's like a wall. And this is what this is like when the mention of walls was like a political statement.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh,
like,
yes. That was
God.
definitely for the Americans watching. I will build a wall. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, such an idiot. Such an
No.
idiot.
No, but it was hilarious. It was
Oh.
definitely a jab at the political climate at the time. And I loved it.
Sure.
And I was like, yes, good. You do that because we deserved it. Yeah. Tim, once again, showing that he might be a little bit of an American.
maybe his parents are American.
Maybe he's American and he
Yeah.
left the country.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
It
But-
makes sense.
But to go back
I don't blame
to Chris's like
Sorry, yeah.
portrayal, I wanted to add that from what I've heard, he also ad-libs a lot of things, and he's like, I don't know, that this feels like what Tim would do or say, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, that works. Let's keep it. Yeah. So
yeah, you're right.
it would be interesting to know what would be left out if Chris wouldn't have kind of given
Yeah.
those ideas and
I'd love
things
to interview him. I got questions for the man.
Oh my God. That would be
Surprise, he's
you
here.
got
I'm just
Aidan.
kidding.
Oh my god. please.
And welcome to the stage, Chris
Oh, and then
Potter.
yeah. Well, you got Aidan on, so you might be able to get Chris next. I'll think the good thoughts.
Oh my god, huh? We can dream.
You can dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree. I think he brings something to Heartland. He brings, I don't even want to say a common enemy, but he brings a common humanity to everybody. And he brings conflict, he brings resolution, he brings comedic relief, he brings heart, and he brings just so many aspects to Heartland that I think without him, absolutely would have just changed the show completely. And I think, he was really kind of a jerk the first few seasons, but I think slowly as time went on, and especially recently, we've seen a lot of change in him, and I'm glad. And I think it's meant a lot.
Yeah. I know I've said this before, but like when the show ends, whenever that is, I feel like for me to kind of imagine those like last days on set, it's going to be hard to be like imagining Chris and Sean being like, yeah, well, it's been fun, like see you later. Like I just imagine that those two have really interesting relationship because it's comedy, it's drama, it's like playing off of each other's emotions. It's just like, for me, that's going to be hardest to imagine. And sorry to give you this thought, but I can't just live it with.
No, it's bad because I think about it all the time, and somebody says it out loud. I'm like, are you reading my mind right now? Like, you can't. Oh my god, I'm scared.
When the show ends, I will
scared.
Cry. Like in any of the background, like any of the behind the scenes stuff that comes out, because there's going to be a ton of it. There might, I would be, how Schitt's Creek had a kind of like behind the scenes documentary afterwards.
Oh my
I hope
god,
they do that. I hope they do that, and I would just stop through the whole thing.
Oh god. If they do a last table read like they did with Schitt's Creek, I cannot take accountability for the actions that will happen after.
I'll be like, I won't be coming to work for a week.
It's like,
is
there a drought?
I need a day.
There's no drought anymore because my tears have filled the room.
And Chris will cry.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's like, everyone's like, he's this tough guy and whatever, but like, come on, like whenever he talks about his co-stars, it's like, oh my gosh.
Exactly. All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me on again, guys. For this emotional turmoil. I love it.
No, but kind of in the same vein, like, what do you think we'll see happening with him when the show ends? Like, what do you think he'll be?
Ooh,
like, is he at Heartland? I could see him
hitting the road again. I
could
see him hitting the road again with Jessica.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say I think they would literally ride off to the sunset together.
Yeah.
I mean, because like even when the show ends, they're still gonna have Heartland. I could see him retiring champ and saying, "I'll see you when I see you," and heading off to Jessica.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Here's the thing, though. I think they're gonna go right to 20 at this point. So I think we have a few more years, to be honest with you.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Because I still remember the 10-year contract thing they had at season 10, which goes till 20. So I mean,
I would love it if we had 18 episodes again.
Yeah.
If we got 15, maybe
we do. Yeah.
Season 17, you don't know.
You've completed your probation period successfully. So, keep your nose clean and your powder dry, as they say.
Sure, Clint.